Welcome to the program. This is Business This Week, the show where we have to take a critical look on the Nigeria's economy. We look at the prospect of what's happening, how we are able to cope on a daily basis in a country ridden by inflation. The environment of doing business seems very tight right now, but so much so happening, and we're just looking forward to better days ahead. The president is out of the country. He's traveled to China for some economic ties. We look forward to that travel bringing positive results into the country. But today, we shift or drift away a little bit from the normal economic indices we talk about on the show. We'll be looking at something that can also generate revenue for us as a nation and as a state, and that is sports. So we'll be looking at sports, raising of talent, how it can generate funds on the show this afternoon. I have two guests, one virtually joining me from the UK, a sport analyst, and one seated here in the studio with me for us to take a look on the sporting sector and see the advantages, the disadvantages, sports generally, gaming, and everything that have to do with sport on the show. But before my guests join me, let's take a look delve into the issues of today. Let me give you your business roundup story for today. We'll begin from the Apex Bank, the Central Bank of Nigeria. About 74.2% of respondents to the inflation expectation survey conducted by the Statistics Department of the Apex Bank, the Central Bank of Nigeria, believed that the Apex Bank should have reduced the interest rate in the month of July. This is in contrast to the 12.4% who thought that the interest rate should be raised, while 13.4% preferred that the rates remain unchanged. The survey results were released by the CBN recently at its office in Abuja. It said in a last meeting that the Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the CBN raised the benchmark interest rate to 50 basis points to 26.75%, the fourth increase in the 7 months. The Apex Bank Governor Olayemi Kadoso said the hike was in response to the continued inflationary pressure. He explained that while the CBN was concerned about the impact of the high interest rate environment on Nigeria and businesses, it was important to maintain its inflation tightening stance. Also, businesses and households surveyed believed that the July inflation rate was high, with most of the respondents believing that the changes in the price of energy, exchange rate, and transportation were the major drivers of inflation in the month of July. Nigeria's inflation moderated to 33.40% in July from 34.19% in the previous month of June. This is according to statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics, the NBS. The central bank also said that the survey for July was conducted from July 14th to July 26th among selected businesses and households with a sample of 1,600 and 1,650 respectively in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The IAS also aims to gather insight on how businesses and households perceive current and future inflationary trend and major drivers of inflation. Joining me virtually from the UK this afternoon is Baye Sylvester Osegi. Now, Baye Sylvester Osegi, in 2018, he became the first person to take a university flag to the FIFA World Cup event, Russia 2018. Baye Osagi has served various sport offices and appointments, such as the former Uniben SUG Director of Sports, 2012 to 2013 academic session as a student, the first University of Benin Sports Center Public Relations Officer and Media Officer, 2016 to 2021, former personal assistant to Edo State's Football Association in 2019 to 2020, member of the Super Eagles Supporters Club 2018 to date, a member of the Nigerian Olympic Committee on Education and Culture 2019 to 2023, member of the Nigeria Olympic Committee on Sponsorship and Marketing 2023 to date. He just bagged a master's degree on international sports management at the United Kingdom's most prestigious university, the Birmingham City University. Good afternoon, Baye Osagi. Good to have you on the show.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right.
I'm happy to be on the show today.
Okay, so I have a guest here also seated with me in the studio. He's a sports administrator, Trust Ojabulu. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be having the conversation together. While Trust will be with me in the studio here, you will be over there from the UK. Let's give some insight into sport and how we can make good money as a nation, how funding can be raised from sport. Now, Baye, walk us through the mechanism of sport in itself. As a sports analyst that you are, I follow you on your page, so I see you talk about sport, your passion for sport. Give us some sentence, just define the mechanism of sport in itself.
Well, when we talk about sports mechanism, we are definitely first of all looking at the aspects of the kinetic part, which has to do with mostly exercise, body movement, and of course the flexibility of the body. That's
Yeah.
talking about generalizing different areas that has to go with the compartment sports. Most people think sport is all about football, and that's one of the reasons why we as a country we are still behind in development and of course in profits wise, because a country like Nigeria where we focus more thinking our sports mechanism is all about football, that's why we are definitely behind compared to developed countries like China, United States of America, or other countries who believe that sport is just one of the team events that could either get you a medal or a trophy, compared to the likes of athletics. That's athletics. In athletics we have track and we have field events, or also on ball games like volleyball, handball, table tennis, netball. So these are all the compartments of what we call sports when we generalize events or generalize activities that gives you the mechanism with the fatherly role, which is kinetics. That's why you see schools like University of Benin, they have a department called human kinetics that teaches them all kind of sport, not just football. So first, if we have to look deep down on how in the future we have to make a lot of profit, we have to look at the general compass of sports, which is not just football.
Okay, you've actually set the record straight, because when a lot of us hear sport, the thing that comes to mind most of the time is football, football, football. Because someone like me, basically, I'm not really a sport person too much, but at least when it comes to football, some of us try to, just want to support either your country playing or your club playing and all that. So let me get the perspective of my guest seated here. If he's own perspective will be quite different from what you just said about you heard him talk about sports
Yes.
itself and saying it's not just football all alone. You are a sport administrator. Do you have a
Yes.
different analysis to that?
No, definitely.
Okay.
I'll say it's the same thing.
Okay.
But everybody always think football because number one, Nigeria is a footballing nation.
Yeah.
It's the number one sport we have
That
here.
seems to be the only sport we
Yes,
get
but
ourselves
there are
involved.
other sports that we also need to give recognition.
Okay.
And we have a lot of people who have talents in this sport.
Yeah.
And it's now left to our government to find a way to bring these people, make them know that they can be carried along. We have really good track runners. We have really good basketball players, like the way our female team showed us in the Olympics. And also, in other sports generally, we have talents because a country filled with 200 million people, and one thing Nigerians are known for all over the world
It's just football.
is just football. There's no way. So definitely in other sports, we can find a way to bring up talent and show the world that, yes.
Okay.
Sports.
Baye, let me come back to you now. Now, let's look at some of the advantages that sport in itself can actually give to us as a nation. Because the Paris Olympics just ended recently, and we saw the woeful performance of our team that went to France for the Paris Olympics, coming back with nothing, even with the huge sum that was budgeted to the tune of 12 billion naira, and they said they utilized 9 billion naira. Could there be some advantages that sport can actually give to us as a nation and as a state?
First of all, the first thing that sports can give to a nation is unity. A
Okay.
country that celebrates champions, winners. You must not be all about gold, but maybe silver or bronze. A country that celebrates athletes who perform in that standard. unites a part of a country. Let's not forget that when, for instance, the a Nigerian is participating in an event in sports, nobody looks at the ethnicity of that person anymore. Nobody
Absolutely.
looks at the region or where the person
Yeah.
actually comes from. The person represents the green, white, green flag, which is Nigeria. So sports, first of all, one of the advantages is the unity it brings to it, not just a person, but a nation. And also, if you look at the Paris 2020 Fall Olympics, first, the country as a whole, economically, it's helped build their economy that period. That means they have a lot of tourists who came around to participate in the event. And you know that definitely places like hotels, transportation, their internet reach, their values all increased because why? Foreigners came around to occupy such structures. So when it comes to sports again, it builds an economy of a country and a place. And that's the reason why sport is is an advantageous event. Also, it places a country or a nation in the world map. That means if an athlete or a team does very well, people become interested in knowing who this country is. In Atlanta 96, when we won gold in football events, most people drew more attention to know or want to know who Nigeria is or where is Nigeria in the world map. When the then is it the yeah, the Golden Eaglets, or sorry, the Dream Team won the Olympics. So it's also brings out a country in the it only also sorts out a country out for more people to know a lot about a country. So those are the advantages indeed. I think for I'll also let my trust to say some advantages so we can go into the disadvantages of the
Okay,
sports.
okay. Trust you heard him lay the foundation of the advantages we have. So we were taught that whatever have an advantage, definitely there must be some disadvantage, sort of. Could there be any disadvantage in sports? Because when I was growing up, the biggest fear I had about sport or football in itself, it's sustaining injury.
Yes, and that comes from lack of preparation most
Okay.
times,
Yeah.
and the disadvantages in sports are very few, and the disadvantages are not something that might be caused from because you are participating.
Yeah, the
Most times, yes,
activities.
it's a personal thing.
Okay.
The just like you said, injuries.
Yeah.
Injuries happening in sports most times might be a little bit of bad luck coming in. Maybe like in football, maybe a hard tackle, or in basketball, maybe you fell wrongly from a jump.
Yeah.
So, but other times you see physiotherapists saying that some injuries that athletes face is due to their lack of preparation. Sometimes not warming up properly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, playing a little bit off the books, like what you're supposed to do, you're not doing it properly, and you're putting yourself at risk of
Yeah.
sustaining an injury. So apart from injuries, I think the disadvantages with sport are very, very few.
Very minimal.
Yeah, yeah. It's not something that, so far you have a lot of self-control. If you have someone who has other things you have to face, you
Yeah.
can find a way to balance your time. Definitely, sports will be perfect for anyone. So
Okay.
disadvantages are very few.
All right, let me go back to Baye. Baye, you heard him give a little analysis of the little disadvantages associated, lack of preparedness, that the disadvantage are not that much compared to the advantage you can get in sport. Now, let's come back home. When I say home, let's...
I think I'll classify what he said, with all due respect, as the setbacks
Okay,
of
setback.
athletes.
Okay,
Yes, of athletes in
okay,
sports.
okay,
Because if we talk about disadvantages, we're talking about, for instance, non-participation for a nation or a general youth or a society not participating in sports. In
okay.
1998, Nigeria was banned from participating in the African Cup of Nations in Egypt because of the political interference. Then we had
The
the
military
president,
rule.
Abacha, who
Yeah.
was the president. So there were issues there, and Nigeria could not participate in the Nations Cup due to AU. I think AU, African Union, banning Nigeria from participating. So we can say one of the issues that goes for sports. interference at political issues,
Yeah.
and also disadvantage of a nation not participating or youths not having engagement in sports could lead to in some devices such as courtism and violence and people becoming very bored and crisis, and also sport as a whole engages the youth coming out. He Trust made some point about setbacks that he was correct, setbacks about for athletes not performing well as a person, such as poor warm up or having issues with physios and all, which is also right. But I think a country who don't participate mostly in sport, mostly for the youth, is dangerous because of the aftermath, and of course for security reasons too.
Okay. So, like I said, let's bring it back home. You are from here. You are from Edo. That's why you're living in diaspora. Let's walk through Edo State as a case study. What have the state really benefited from sport over the years? Because we see situation whereby the Ministry of Sport is merged to another ministry called the Ministry of Youth. So it seems more like what the ministry is doing is focusing on youth basically and leaving sport out of it. Have there been any benefits thus far in that ministry in the state? And we can also look at it at the national level, because you now see Ministry of Youth and Sport, though during Buhari's administration at the national level, it was a bit differentiated. You have sport and you have youth. So have there been any benefit thus far for the state, Edo?
Well, first of all, with all due respect, as like you said, I'm an Edo man, born in Edo State,
Yeah.
precisely. The truth is that when it comes to advantages of sport as an Edolite, I think if I could say that we have not benefited sport a lot in Edo State, because people think that, like I said from the onset, that sports is all about football. When if you talk about football, I could say yes that Benin Insurance as a team have represented us well, winning the FA Cup after almost 40 years. Fine, they've done very well. But when it comes to other areas of sports, sport has been killed by the so-called sport administrators who are there just for the money bag. I would explain that part. The truth is, there are some particular individuals, such as Mr. Uyi Akpata, who actually, sorry, hello.
I can hear you. Go ahead. Okay. Trust. He was trying to make a point. I asked him if Edo have really benefited from sport, both at the national level. You are here. You are from the ministry. You are an administrator there. So tell us, give us the one-on-one insight about it. Has Edo State really benefited so much from sport as we speak, both at the national level?
Truthfully, I don't think we've done enough.
Okay.
We are still lacking a lot.
But we have the likes of Osime and Co playing for
Yes,
international
these
clubs.
cases are like 1 in 1,000. you
Okay,
understand?
1 in
And-
1,000.
And most of these guys are overly exceptionally talented. These are talents that you can't, even if they are not recognized in Edo State, they'll definitely be recognized somewhere else. So talents like that now, even though we don't have people who are up to that level, we have good enough talent to represent Nigeria at the international level. And it's not just in football, also in track events and also other ball games. I just feel like maybe the sports administration right now has not really seen a way to pick up these talents, but I know that definitely in the future, these talents can be hidden forever. They'll find a way to come out.
Okay, you as an administrator, do you think they should do anything to pick up this talent? Because when you pass the street on a daily basis, you see young guys playing football, you go to school fields, you see people training and all that. And majority of them are Edolites, they are from here. Is there no way these talents can be sought for and they get them into the national team?
Yes, definitely, but one of the things I've noticed is that there are a lot of grassroots programs going on for sports persons. most especially football, because
Okay.
that is, the number
Yeah,
one sport.
football seems to be the
Yes.
father of all the
Well,
sports.
that's what everybody's playing, so I won't really
Okay.
blame them. So, if you step into any secondary school,
Yeah.
primary school, it's definitely football that they're playing. I'm not saying that there are not other sports that, we have people who are good enough, but we can always use football as a major case
The
study
major case
because this is what
study.
people can easily relate to.
Yeah.
The grassroots level is something that we should still try to focus on as much as possible. We should try to give these youngsters a platform to grow their talents. I think we can still copy a little bit from what is done in the United States, whereby they merge their educational system with their
With their
sports
sporting
sports
system.
system. So we don't have this case of because I want to pursue football, I have to leave school.
Yeah.
You can pursue the two at the same time, and it will also motivate these kids to do more.
To have interest and do
Yes,
more in it.
and at the end of the day, it's not like when you are not done with football, at the ripe age of your late 30s or early 40s, you are not stuck, you don't have anything. At least now you can always fall back to the fact, okay, I have a
Something.
degree.
Yeah.
You understand? And you will now appreciate the fact that this is what the state set up for you.
Okay.
So we can always look into the future and say, okay, let's set up our grassroots system like this and see where it will go.
So you were actually
Yeah.
saying something about if the state, Edo precisely, has really benefited much in terms of sport over the years before we had a little glitches. So you can go ahead with your conversation.
Well, like I said, the truth is, when we talk about Edo State as a whole, if over the years they've actually benefited through sports, I could say for football, Edo State have done very well when it comes to the local team, Ben Insurance Football Club, and then looking at other aspects of sports, I don't think that we've have anybody to come out to say that these particular areas they've been actually supported not just by the state government or by individuals, except cricket. We have one Mr. Uyi Akpata who actually took cricket as his own, and he actually made sure that the cricket team is well taken care of financially, taking them around the world, playing under 17 World Cup tournaments and qualifiers, under 20, and of course even the senior category. Outside that, I think our fundings that have been going in sport for Edo State has been going to the wrong hands. I'm not in this program to mention names, but I can only elaborate or bring out points where these things can be corrected. For instance, if you say you are holding a political position, I don't see any reason why you have a business with sports. If you're maybe except delegated by the governor, with all due respect, Governor Baseki has done to some extent releasing funds to events as National Sports Festival or to persons to channel this to sports. But I can tell you that those funds were channeled by individuals
Yeah.
who had to pocket that money just for their own family and personal gain.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it resulted to nothing. Sincerely speaking, I'll tell you that I have so many Edo State sport athletes that I'm not boasting or bragging that in this Edo State how I put it sports council that till today I formed. So I
Wow.
don't mention name or say it. I have persons who sometimes they tell you about the problems and issues of Edo State Sports Council, how some areas of sport over the years they didn't get much attention. As
Yeah.
a nation, I keep saying it. If you want to generate funds, you don't look at just football
Okay.
as an aspect to generate funds. You have to look at other sports and other mechanisms, other tactics where you can get funds. Like for instance, you have athletics, you have volleyball, you have other events. Why not you come together to see how you can get good audience and participation to get fund? In England, yeah, the team GB, that's Team Great Britain, as I speak to you, the government don't have any interference with Team GB or fundings. The government don't give them fundings. because over the years they've been able to package themselves. They get a lot of sponsorship and support from private entities or individuals. Like Team GB is sponsored by NatWest Bank,
Yeah.
Texco, Aldi, Lodi. These are big organizations or big companies
True.
that fund in or throw in funds. Indeed. So
Yeah.
if we want to go into areas of if Edo State athletes, they are suffering. Many of them are suffering. Many of them went for National Sports Festival, and after that they were dumped.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
They are suffering. Many of them don't even, like Trust said. I like what he said about not just thinking about going into sports, but what about the academic pursuit? How many of
Absolutely.
these athletes who won medals for Edo State in the last National Sports Festival, how many
Yeah.
of them were supported by the state government to go
To go
back
to
to
school.
school?
Absolutely.
How many of them, how many does the state government, when it comes to sports, do they have database of these athletes? They
Yeah.
don't even have database. They're just people you pick from the streets, use them and dump them. That's always been the tactics or the strategy of Nigerians, how to
Okay.
use people and dump people. Some of them sustain injuries. I can tell you
Injuries.
that some
Yeah.
of these athletes sustain injuries during the last National Sports Festival. Until today, nobody care about them. That means their career over.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
Then also, in the aspect of, I would say, in the aspect of football,
Yeah.
Ben insurance, leave that alone. Anybody can do what the person handling it before was doing. You
Okay. All right.
know, other areas in
Now,
sports.
let's look
Uh,
at it from the national level, or rather, national and international level. Nigeria as a country. How have our performances been thus far at the international stage? Looking at the fallout of the recent Paris Olympics, that huge sum of 12 billion was allocated, and we came back empty-handed, even to the extent that one of our athletes had to borrow bicycle to continue. I laughed when I saw that news, to continue the competition.
well, the truth is that this event or the performance and the all ends euphoria that happened in Paris will
Yeah.
still happen again 4 years time.
Because
Trust
they
me, it will
cannot
happen
plan.
again. It will happen again 8 years time.
Yeah.
Same thing
Okay.
as it stands.
Yeah.
Because why? We don't have a structure in sports
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
You understand? I used to think like the way they used to think before until I
Yeah.
traveled out of the
Until you
country
left the
to have a
country.
master's here and see the way they operate in England. You understand?
Yeah.
First of all, when you want to talk about sports and its participation,
Yeah.
first you have to have the equipment, you have to have an infrastructure, which we have. You
Okay.
cannot take that. Nigeria have infrastructure. In fact, I think we have too many stadiums, unnecessary stadiums in Nigeria,
Exactly, in
because
Nigeria.
that's one of the first agenda of any governor or anybody that gets into office. I want to build a
Yeah.
stadium
Yeah.
in an area just to siphon money. You understand? That's the idea. But no problem. If you have a stadium, why don't you take one of your stadium in the Nigeria have over 100 stadiums? Do you know?
Okay.
And out of that 100 stadium, only 5 or 6
Over
are
a
well
hundred. I'm
maintained.
hearing that for the first time, actually.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. When we talk about stadium, we don't talk about just the international
The
FIFA
international
capacity
standards, okay,
stadium. We talk
including the
about
mini
mini
stadiums.
stadiums.
Okay.
You
Okay.
understand? And
Yeah.
then when you have take just one stadium from a state
Yeah.
and then you convert it to an athletic stadium. Athletic stadium means just for athletics. You
Okay.
don't play football there. You just have
Yeah.
your long distance race, maybe to train. Your short distance race, your volleyball,
Okay.
sorry, your 100 meter, two
Yeah.
hundred meter, 400 meter athletes coming there to train often. Your discus, javelin, these events they are all just done in one particular stadium, and then you equipped it. When you mean equip, get the best of equipment in that one particular stadium that will
Yeah.
be named maybe Nigerian Athletics Federation AFM Stadium.
Okay.
Just just one. Then after equipping it, then you get the best of engineers to come around 6 months, every 6 months to maintain this infrastructure or these facilities or this
Yeah.
equipment.
Okay.
If you do that for the next 4 years, trust me, you don't need to beg people abroad or people living
To
or
come
in
and
US
invest.
or Canada or in Ghana or
Yeah.
Germany. to come and help you get the
Help
best
you.
athletes to
True.
run. Nigeria has talent. We have raw talent. We
Okay.
have the best. See, Nigeria is a country where you don't need to spend so much money pampering or nurturing a child to let the child know that he can do it. You
Okay.
understand? You
Yeah.
just, I take Esibume as a whole, an inspiration. I
As an
knew
individual.
Esibume as at 2014
Yeah.
when she comes to Uniben Sport Complex to train. Then she had one coach, Yaya Kayode, who trains her always. You
Okay.
understand? So she believed in herself.
Yeah.
You understand? And then from there, she got to the world stage. This all
Okay.
started in a process from Nigeria.
All right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So we still have more of the Esibume in Nigeria
In Nigeria.
that can come up from the local level, from the grassroots, and then represent us internationally. All they
Okay.
just need is the facilities.
All right.
You understand? I'll take a case study of University of Port Harcourt. You understand? University of Port Harcourt is the only university in Nigeria that have an high performance center. Do you know what that is? They have an high performance center for athletics, for university engagements.
Okay.
Go
All
and
right.
find that. University of Port Harcourt have won the last 5 Nuga games. Yes, they have won it. Do you know why? They only go with they will only go with like 15 athletes and they're
Yeah.
all right. You know, you don't need to pack 150 people to an Olympics to win the Olympic.
Okay.
You only have to be strategic, bringing an athlete that you are sure of medals.
Yeah.
What do University of Port Harcourt do? They get the best swimmers
Okay.
in Nigeria.
Yeah.
They enroll them for jam from 100 level to final year and they put them on scholarship as students.
Okay.
And when they get to Nuga, swimming has the highest number of medals in any event.
Yeah.
University of Port Harcourt will win 50 gold out of 50. And then that's all.
Okay. Now
You understand?
let's. Okay. Let
So,
me come
so,
back to
so
trust here.
sorry,
Let's
I
look
know, I
before
don't
I
want to
come
go to
back to
trust.
you.
Sorry.
Before I take your
What I'm
final.
saying, sorry.
Okay.
What I'm saying is sometimes you don't need to spend 12 billion naira to
Yeah.
win an event.
Just like they did.
If if you spread that 12 billion naira for the last 4 years, you
Yeah.
go to the Olympic and smile. Because why? You spend that money in facilities, you spend that money in doing every other things before preparation.
Okay. All right. Let me before I come back to you for your closing remark and final thoughts. Let's now link sports and gaming together from the grassroots. Do they have? Are they related? Do they have a collaboration together?
Well, for now, we've recently inaugurated the Edo State Esports Association.
Okay.
That is, we are going to be in charge of gaming in
Yeah.
Edo State. And
Okay.
one of our main focuses and objectives for the future is bringing the grassroots into gaming, making people know that you can actually earn from being a professional gamer. So we are going to be aiming at, youngsters from game hubs, popularly known as game houses. There are people who are at home who play video games who are really good,
Yeah.
and they don't have any platform to show themselves.
Okay,
So
to
we're going to
showcase their
create
talent.
these platforms for them,
Okay.
and this is going to be a way for them to prepare themselves for national
Competitions.
qualifiers. Because right now, the world of esports and gaming is going beyond what anybody has.
Can think about.
Yeah. So, like just recently in the past month, there was the esports World Cup that just concluded in Saudi Arabia, and he had a prize for over $60 million for all the teams.
Okay.
And unfortunately, there was no Nigerian there.
Wow.
So this is going to be an annual event. So from us here in Edo State, we are going to do our best to, prepare young ones who, can, go and compete at the national level. And with the esports Olympics coming up next year, also in Saudi Arabia, definitely there will be national qualifiers. Let's make sure that we have the best in Edo State ready to go and play the national qualifiers. So we can have the best at the world stage.
Compete.
And this is something that we are really passionate about, because basically all of us in this, at the administrative level in the Edo State Sports Association, we're all gamers. We've been playing games for some of us up to 3 decades.
So that's 30 years.
Yes, for some of us there. I've been playing for almost 2 decades. And I am also a professional gamer myself. I know what it takes to play at the highest level. At least I've had the
absolutely.
opportunity of playing in different world championships and
Okay.
African tournaments, continental tournaments,
Yeah.
and I can see that Nigeria is really lucky behind, because
Okay.
anytime we go to compete, we're always having this issue of we can't keep up with the rest.
Yeah.
Even at the continental level, we can't keep up with countries like Ghana, Senegal,
Yeah.
South Africa.
More like
And
small countries, and we are the giant of Africa.
yes, and we're giants of Africa, and we have a lot of talented gamers amongst
Okay.
us. And if we are still suffering at something as basic as this,
Yeah.
come on, there should be a way we can solve it. And this is what
Okay.
we're trying to focus on now.
All right.
At the grassroots level, people should prepare themselves. We're coming, if you're a gamer, prepare yourself. We're going to pick you up. If
you guys will hunt for them.
If you know you are good enough, definitely there will be an opportunity for you. And
showcase.
the first step we're taking is by the Edo State Esports Expo that is coming up very soon.
All right.
And we'll be giving insights into game. There will even be a little game competition. If you are good enough, come show your skill.
Okay.
It'll be a prize for you.
All right.
And this will be a good way to show stakeholders and potential sponsors and people who will be ready to be invested in this, because this is a really big deal.
All right.
Esports is projected by 2030 to be worth over $12 billion, and there's no way that Edo State will not want to be part of that. So we should just...
All right. Baye, let me get your final thoughts. The Super Eagles now have a new head coach after so many here and there, back and forth. The 37th head coach of the Super Eagles and the 6th or 7th German citizen who is heading the Super Eagles. Do you think there will be a difference? This head coach is going to make a difference to the Super Eagles and generally football as a sport to us as a nation? And what are the prospects forward? How can we generate more fund from sports? Your final thought as we round up, Osage.
This coach, I'll lie to you. That means he's not a coach that is an household name, or a coach that is even better off than Janet Roy or Joseph Periso. You understand? For me, I think they would have allowed Periso, as the coach that took us to the Nations Cup final, to remain. And then if you need to tell him to change some of his tactics, that like how we lost the finals in the Nations Cup, maybe that would have been better. It's still up and down, front and back from Nigeria for appointment of coaches and all. It's just I think there's no difference. There's no going to be any difference at all, because looking at our situation in the World Cup qualifiers, we're already in the tight corner. We need to win all our matches, meaning that other teams have to lose. So for me, I think it's just by the wayside. Then lastly, like you said, for areas for generating funds, it's very simple. First of all, they need to be appointing people who have the passion and have
square
the
peg
commitment.
in square hole and round peg in round holes.
Yeah, that's the truth. So they need to put people who believe that they can help generate funds for sports. Sports, like you said about the esports, that's in England, it's one of their major games. It's not about football. I know Premier League is yes and cricket, but esports from kids, they already have.
My PD is already telling me that we're pressed for time and we need to go. I really want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your insight. And I love the fact that you're flying the green-white jersey right there in the UK. I really want to appreciate you for your time on the show this beautiful afternoon. Thank you for coming on board. And Trust, I want to thank you too for being a part of the show this afternoon. All right, that's how far we can go on the show this afternoon. God willing, I'll be back again next week with other interesting topic for us to talk about for national development and economic boosting of the Nigerian state. On behalf of my entire team right here behind camera, so I appreciate you for your time from start to finish. I'm Lawrence Osifo saying see you again. Bye for now.